She woke up the next morning, she felt something hard and rough beneath her. She opened her eyes and realized she was lying on the ground, not in her soft warm bed. She sat up and looked around, only to find herself in the middle of a dense dark forest. The trees were tall and thick, and strange noises echoed through the woods. Olido looked down at herself and gasped. Instead of her beautiful dress, she was wearing old torn rags. Her hair was messy and she felt dirty. In the beautiful kingdom of Yugola, filled with tall trees, colorful flowers, and friendly people, there lived a famous and wealthy king named Yuzuga. King Yuzuga had 3 beautiful wives, 7 brave sons, but only one daughter named Olido. Princess Olido was a special child. Everyone in the kingdom admired her and showered her with love and affection. She was very beautiful, and had big brown eyes and long braided hair. Princess Olido was the apple of the king's eye. Being the only daughter among 7 sons, her parents, brothers and even the other queens showered her with endless love and affection. They gave her the most beautiful dresses, the most expensive jewelries, and the best footwears. Olido had a big luxurious bedroom filled with shiny decorations and luxuries. Olido had the finest foods prepared for her, and she never ate anything she did not like. If she desired a particular dish, it would be prepared immediately, no matter how difficult or rare the ingredients were. She had a vast wardrobe filled with clothes made from the finest fabrics. Her maids would spend hours dressing her in the latest fashions and braiding her hair in intricate styles. Olido's maids also followed her everywhere. They would fan her when it was hot, carry her things, and cater to her every whim. Every morning, her maids would help her get dressed, decorate her long braided hair, and serve her breakfast in bed. Her maids did everything for her, as the king wouldn't allow her to lift a finger to do anything. Whenever she wanted something, all she had to do was ask the king, and it would be given to her instantly. And because of all this, Olido started to feel more important than everyone else in the palace. Olido had no friends because she felt that they weren't all up to her standard. Whenever they come to make friends with her, she will always look down on them and mock them, which made all the other children steer clear from her. As Olido grew older, her behavior became worse. It was as if her pride and arrogance increased every day. She felt she was more superior to other people in the palace because she was the king's favorite. Whenever she walked through the palace, she would boss the servants around, dishing out orders to them. She even ordered them to kneel down and greet her whenever they saw her coming. And failure to do that will warrant severe punishment. She once slapped one of her maids for accidentally stepping on her gown. She insulted the maid and told her that the gown was very expensive and can buy the maid and her entire family. Another time, she poured a plate of food on a maid simply because it wasn't served on her favorite plate. Olido shouted angrily and insulted the maid. The noise made Olido's mother the queen to check what was going on. When she came out and got to know what was happening, she blamed the maid and accused her of being nonchalant with her duties. She also insulted the maid and sent her away. Aside from that, Olido loved to stroll around the palace grounds with her maids, showing off her beauty and elegance. She enjoyed the admiration and envy of others, feeling superior and untouchable. Olido continued to grow with her bad character and no one bothered to caution her. Soon, she grew accustomed to it and it became part of her. Olido's 20th birthday was some weeks away and she was preparing heavily for it. Olido wanted a lavish and grand party to mark her 20th birthday. And so she made her request known to the king, to which he granted immediately. Princess Olido's 20th birthday was celebrated with unmatched grandeur. The palace was transformed into a dazzling spectacle, adorned with vibrant flowers, shimmering lights, and luxurious fabrics. Invitations were sent across the kingdom, and nobles, dignitaries, and important figures from neighboring lands gathered to witness the event. A lavish banquet was prepared, featuring roasted meats, exotic fruits, and fine wines. Musicians and dancers entertained the guests with captivating performances. Olido wore a stunning purple gown adorned with jewels and a diamond tiara. She made a grand entrance, descending the palace stairs with grace, drawing gasps of admiration from the guests. King Yuzuga gave a heartfelt speech, praising Olido and also presented her with the gift of a rare diamond necklace. The guest also presented lavish gifts to Olido, ranging from exquisite jewelry to rare artifacts. Then a spectacular firework display lit up the night sky, delighting everyone. Towards the end of the party, Princess Olido was called upon to give a vote of thanks. As she made her way majestically to the stage, she accidentally stepped on the leg of a man who was seated among the nobles and dignitaries. But instead of apologizing to the man, she stared at the man with questioning eyes. Then one of the women sitting among the men told her to apologize to the man, but Olido, who was furious, shouted at the woman in anger, telling her that the man wasn't so blind as to not see her coming. She told the woman that the man was the one to apologize to her for almost making her fall down on her special day. Hearing this, the man felt insulted and publicly humiliated. The guests were shocked by Olido's mannerless behavior and murmured in disapproval. Then Olido's mother, the queen, came in and apologized to the man on behalf of her daughter while Olido was still fuming in anger. The party later ended in an awkward manner as the majority of the guests left before the party ended. After the incident, one of her maids accidentally spilled juice on her dress. Instead of understanding that it was an accident, Olido poured the whole juice on the maid and insulted her. Then she punished her. Her brothers saw this and tried to caution her about her bad character, but she wouldn't listen. They then took the matter to the king so that he could caution her. But the king laughed it off, stating that Olido was still angry because of her birthday party. One sunny day, Princess Olido decided to take a stroll to the market. She went with two of her mates. As she passed by the market, she took anything she liked without asking or paying. When the traders demanded for their money, she shouted at them harshly and told them to go to the palace and collect their money. After Olido was done having fun to the fullest, she decided to head back to the palace. As they turned back to go, they met an old beggar dressed in rags walking towards them. The old man pleaded with the princess to spare him some money. But the princess, as usual, insulted the beggar and moved away from him. The beggar continued begging the princess and following her. But Olido pushed the old beggar down, insulted and mocked him before walking away feeling so satisfied. The old man watched her leave, and a strange look came into his eyes and he muttered something under his breath, but Olido didn't hear him. That night, while Princess Olido was sleeping peacefully in her soft warm bed, she suddenly felt a cold breeze sweep through her room. She shivered and opened her eyes, only to see the old man from the market standing at the foot of her bed. But he didn't look like just an old man anymore, his eyes were glowing, and he seemed taller and more powerful. "Princess Olido," he said in a deep booming voice, "you were very unkind and disrespectful to me today. You think you are better than others because you are a princess, but you must learn the true meaning of kindness and humility." Olido was too shocked to speak. She wanted to scream for help, but no sound came out of her mouth. The old man raised his hand and chanted some mysterious words. Suddenly, the room filled with bright light, and Olido felt dizzy. She closed her eyes and everything went dark. When she woke up the next morning, she felt something hard and rough beneath her. She opened her eyes and realized she was lying on the ground, not in her soft warm bed. She sat up and looked around, only to find herself in the middle of a dense dark forest. The trees were tall and thick, and strange noises echoed through the woods. Olido looked down at herself and gasped. Instead of her beautiful dress, she was wearing old torn rags. Her hair was messy and she felt dirty. She stood up, feeling scared and confused, realizing she was far from home, in a place she did not recognize. She didn't know what to do or where to go. She tried to remember what had happened the night before and then recalled the old man's visit and his strange glowing eyes. And that was when she realized. Olido wandered through the forest, trying to find her way out. She wanted to go home, but she had no idea where she was or how to get back. After walking for some time, she stumbled upon a small village. The villagers looked at her with curiosity and suspicion. Olido, used to being treated like a princess, felt embarrassed and out of place in her ragged clothes. As she walked on, the villagers continued to stare at her and make fun of her, which made Olido furious. She marched angrily to where they were standing and warned them to mind their business and stop staring at her. They all looked at her as if she was mad and avoided her. She then moved on. The hot sun shone brightly and made Olido uncomfortable as she continued going to an unknown destination. She was now feeling very thirsty, tired and hungry. She missed her comfortable bed, her delicious meals, and the safety of the palace. She decided to rest under a shade of a tree. As she sat down at the foot of the tree, she felt weak and hopeless. She thought about her family. They will be shocked about her disappearance. Her stomach growled loudly, signifying hunger. Just then she sighted a nearby hut with baked beans displayed on a table in front of the hut. Olido mustered some strength and walked to the hut. She then took some baked beans and stuffed them in her mouth. The woman who owned the baked beans ran out of the house shouting and screaming that a mad woman had come to steal her food. She grabbed Olido by the hand and pushed her away. Olido, who was shocked by the woman's outburst, corrected her harshly that she wasn't a mad woman but a princess. The woman grabbed a nearby stick and chased her away angrily. After escaping from the woman, Olido was glad that she had eaten something, but her main problem was thirst. She passed by a small stream, but she didn't want to drink from it. She decided to ask for water from a nearby hut. When she got there, she didn't greet the old woman there before even demanding for the water. Olido sat down majestically on a bench and asked the old woman to bring her water. The old woman stared at her for some time and concluded that she was mad. The old woman sent her away with her walking stick. Olido harshly told the woman that she should have been grateful that a princess like her asked her for water. The old woman rained curses on her before turning back to her hut. Next she saw some ladies with water pots on their heads approaching. The water pots were filled with water. Immediately the ladies got to where she was. She ordered them to stop. The three ladies were scared because Olido was looking like a mad woman. She then ordered them to serve her water. One of the ladies told her that mad people normally drink water directly from streams and not wait for people to serve them. Olido was furious and asked them if they knew who she was. She told them that she was Princess Olido of Ugala Kingdom. When the ladies heard it, they all burst out laughing, and Olido wondered why they were laughing. They told her that she doesn't even look like Princess Olido at all. When Olido heard that, she stopped for a second and ran towards the stream she saw earlier. While the ladies laughed at her as she ran. When she got to the stream, to her total shock, she saw a totally different face as her reflection. She checked her face to be sure. Until it now dawned on her that her face had also changed and nobody can recognize her as Princess Olido again. She sat down on the grass dejectedly and started crying. As she continued crying, a young woman passed by and stopped as she saw Olido crying. She approached her and asked if she was lost. Olido, who was too proud to admit her mistake, simply nodded. The woman, who was filled with pity, then asked her to come with her to her house so she can change her clothes and eat. Olido followed the woman, feeling both grateful and ashamed. When they got to the woman's cozy hut, Olido couldn't bring herself to think that she would be staying there. The woman called out to her two daughters, who came out to help the woman with her bag. They were both surprised to see Olido and asked who she was. When the woman told them who she was and also told them to accommodate her, they all nodded in agreement. They took her to the room and gave her some clothes and told her to wear them after bathing. Olido looked at the clothes with disdain, but she didn't say anything. As she ate the simple but tasty food that was served to her in a simple plate, she thought about how different her life had become in just one night. She realized she would not be able to cope because she doesn't have her maids anymore, or her comfortable bed, or even her tasty food. After eating, she was shown a mat on which she was going to sleep. When Olido saw it, she demanded a bed and told them that she doesn't sleep on mats. The woman told her that she doesn't have the money to buy a bed, and that was why they had to manage the mat. After much persuasion, Olido finally laid on the mat, fuming with anger. Then after some time, she drifted off to sleep. Back at the palace, Olido's maids went to her room to start their normal routine of cleaning, dressing and feeding the princess, but they couldn't find her anywhere in the room. They asked the other maids, but all of them said they haven't seen her. They then took the matter to the king. When the king heard it, he ordered all of them to find her, because she can be anywhere in the palace. After searching for some time, they still told the king that they didn't see her. The king was annoyed and asked the guards at the gate if they knew the whereabouts of Olido, but they told him that they hadn't even seen her that day. Everyone in the palace was thrown into confusion as they all searched everywhere for Olido. Later that evening, when no one could find Olido, the queen started crying uncontrollably as she was totally confused at the mysterious disappearance of Olido. The king decided to send out search parties the next day to look for the princess, in which they didn't succeed. When Olido woke up the next day, she felt very tired and unhappy. She sat up on the mat waiting for the woman's daughters to come and serve her breakfast. After waiting for almost an hour, she decided to go and check on them. Immediately she got out of the hut, she saw them near the kitchen and went to meet them. When she got there, she asked them what was taking them long to make the breakfast. The three women stopped what they were doing abruptly and turned to face her. The woman's second daughter, whose name was Uche, asked her if she had greeted them first before asking for breakfast. She asked her if in her house she doesn't sweep, wash the plates and fetch water first, before demanding for food, to which Olido told her that those were not her duties and that she was a princess and not a maid. The first daughter Uko told her that they would have to do the house chores first before eating. Olido told her that she can't wait for that because she was very hungry. Uko told her to go and sweep the compound in order to speed up the time. But Olido refused. She sat down on a nearby chair and told them to prepare the food first before doing any house chores. But none of the women paid any attention to her as they continued what they were doing. When it was almost noon, they called out Olido to come and carry her food from the kitchen. Olido was surprised as she expected them to serve her the food. She told them to bring it for her, but they all left her and the food in the kitchen and went to eat. Olido stood there staring at the food. After some time she swallowed her pride and carried the food into the house. The next morning, Olido was woken up by Uko, who asked her to follow them to the stream. Olido told her that she had not yet completed her beauty sleep and she wasn't supposed to follow them to the stream because she is a princess. Uko told her that if she didn't follow them to the stream, she would not be allowed to drink the water or bath with the water. But Olido scoffed and went back to sleep. When she later woke up, she came out of the house and didn't see anybody. The compound had been swept and food had been prepared. Olido headed to the kitchen to take some food but found out that the kitchen was locked. This made her frustrated as she hadn't eaten or drank any water. Towards evening, when the girls and their mother came back from the market, they all started cooking. Olido didn't join them as she hoped she would be given food since she hadn't eaten since morning. She sat idly near the fire in the kitchen, refusing to do anything when asked to do so. When the women were done cooking, they served themselves some food and ate, leaving Olido hungry. When Olido asked for her food, Uche told her that it is he who works that should eat. The next morning again, Olido was asked to follow them to the stream or else she wouldn't drink water or have her bath. Olido stood up reluctantly and went outside. She was given a water pot by Uko. When Olido saw the pot, she refused to carry it because she said it was too big for her to carry. But Uche told her that that was the smallest size of pot that even a small child can carry. And with that, they set out for the stream. After walking for some time, Olido told them that she wanted to go home because the stream was too far. None of the girls answered her. Instead, they continued moving. Finally, when they got to the stream, they filled their pots with water and placed it on their heads and headed home. Olido, who couldn't carry the pot, cried and complained as they were going home. When she got home, she refused to go back to the stream again. When Uko and Uche were done fetching the water, Olido and Uche were given brooms to sweep the compound while Uko went to fetch firewood. Olido complained and cried bitterly as she swept her own portion. After sweeping, Uche washed the plates while Olido was asked to rinse them. After a while, all the house chores were completed and food was also prepared. Olido ate hungrily while the girls watched her pitifully. Later that night, Olido complained of body pains and also told Uka not to wake her up the next day. But the next day, the whole incident from the previous day repeated again. Olido, who couldn't bear it, thought of a way of escaping from the house. When she noticed that the girls were not around the house, she ran away. She struggled for 2 days without shelter and food as she wandered around the village. She wanted to go back to Yuka's house, but she didn't know the way back there. She was now stranded and regretted her actions. On the 3rd day of wandering in the village, she came across the stream Uka and Uche normally fetch water from and decided to stay there until they came to fetch water from it. Early in the morning the next day, Olido was woken up by some voices. She looked around to know what was going on, but to her surprise, she saw Uche. She ran to meet her and greet her but stopped in her tracks by the cold glare they gave her. She then walked up to them shamefully and asked them to take her back home. They told her that they were not willing to take her back since she had decided to leave and she was very ungrateful to them. Olido swallowed her pride and begged them because she now had nowhere to go. She promised them that she would be good to them, obey them and do anything they wanted her to do. And with that, they forgave her. When they got home they changed her dirty clothes and gave her food to eat. And that was how Olido's bad character started changing. Every day, Olido learned new things. Uche and Uka taught her how to sweep properly, fetch water from the stream, and cook simple meals. At first, Olido was clumsy and made many mistakes. She broke water pots, spilled water, and burned the food. She felt frustrated and embarrassed, but Uka and Uche were patient and kind. As time went on, Olido started to get better at doing chores. She began to see how hard everyone worked and how important it was to help each other. The girls, who had been wary of her at first, began to warm up to her as they saw her trying her best. One day, Olido noticed an old woman struggling to carry a heavy basket of vegetables while she was going to fetch firewood. She rushed over and offered to help. She carried the basket to the woman's house. The old woman thanked Olido and blessed her. Olido felt proud of herself for being helpful. The more Olido helped Uka and Uche, the more they liked her. She even made friends with the other villagers and also assisted them. She started to understand that being kind and humble made her and the people around her happier than being spoiled and bossy. One evening, as Olido sat by the fire with Uka and Uche, she thought about how much she had changed. She realized that she was learning the lesson the old man had tried to teach her. She understood that being a true princess meant caring for others and being humble, not just wearing fancy dresses, living in a palace and being bossy. Olido knew she still had a lot to learn, but she felt hopeful. She decided to continue helping the people around her and improving herself, believing that one day she would find a way back home. And when that day came, she would return as a better and kinder princess who truly deserved to be called royalty. As time went on, Olido became a beloved member of the village. She worked hard, helped others, and learned many new things. The villagers appreciated her kindness and generosity. They no longer saw her as just a proud girl but as someone special. One day, the village held a big festival to celebrate a good harvest. There were colorful decorations, delicious food, and cheerful music. Everyone gathered in the village square to enjoy the festivities. Olido felt happy and grateful to be part of the celebration. As the celebration continued, Olido noticed a familiar face in the crowd. It was the old man she had met in the marketplace, the one who had cast a spell on her. But this time, he didn't look like a poor old man. He was dressed in fine robes, and his eyes sparkled with kindness and wisdom. The old man approached Olido and smiled. "Princess Olido," he said, "you have learned a lot since we last met. You have shown kindness, humility, and hard work. I am very proud of you." Olido felt a mix of emotions, surprise, gratitude, and a little bit of fear. I am sorry for how I treated you before, she said. I have learned that being a true princess means being kind and helping others. The old man nodded. You have learned well, follow me, he said. He led Olido to the edge of the village, and as they were passing, they saw a group of villagers struggling to lift a heavy sack that had gotten stuck in the mud. Without hesitation, Olido joined the villagers. She pushed and pulled with all her strength, encouraging others to keep trying. Together, they worked as a team, and finally, the sack was free from the mud. The villagers thanked Olido for her help. The old man watched with a satisfied smile. You have just passed the last test, Olido. You have shown that you are willing to help others, no matter how hard the task is. You have truly changed. With a wave of his hand, the old man cast another spell. This time, the bright light felt warm and comforting. When the light faded, Olido found herself wearing her beautiful princess gown again. She looked around and saw that she was back in the palace garden. When she stepped into the palace, the maids and the guards were shocked to see her after many months of searching for her. Her parents and brothers ran to her, hugging her tightly. They were overjoyed to see her again. Olido felt tears of happiness in her eyes. She was home, but she was not the same person she had been before. She was a better and kinder princess who understood the importance of humility and kindness. Olido knew she would never forget the lessons she had learned and the people who had helped her along the way. Now, as she stood in the palace with her family, Olido was ready to be the best princess she could be, using her experience to make her kingdom a better place for everyone. If you like this video, kindly give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more interesting and inspiring stories. Thanks for watching.